let's talk about some awesome knitting patterns that were released this past October. Rochelle here, and I'm back to share some yarn goodness with y'all today. Okay, so today we are going to talk about 3 different things. We are going to talk about clothing, we're going to talk about accessories, and we're going to talk about patterns for the home. Okay, so all of these patterns are free. Either they're available as a free download or they're free on the designer's blog. And as always, I will leave a link below to all the patterns that I discussed today. So let's get started with garments. All right. Our first one is the Regina Pullover, designed by Emily Y. Chen of M Knits. So this one is made with worsted weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 66 inches, and in centimeters, that is 71 to 167. So you will need 2 knitting needles to make this garment. You will need a US 8, which is a 5 millimeter, and a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. And as I always say, your tension, your gauge is different. So you might need a different needle size. You may have to go up a needle. You may have to go down a needle. So think about that when you are choosing your knitting needles. Okay, so the skills that you will need in order to make this include backwards loop cast on, Italian cast on, Italian bind off, provisional cast on, increasing and decreasing. And so this is an off-the-shoulder sweater. I don't know why I have a hard time saying things like that. But anyway, it is an off-the-shoulder sweater. And the body and the sleeves of the sweater are worked seamlessly top down. And then it has optional waist shaping as well. So the collar is picked up from the provisional cast on edge, and it can be knit to any length that you want. So the provisional cast on is really great. I have done one before. The idea of it may seem a little bit daunting, but this cast on is really easy once you get the hang of it. So yeah, let me know if you have tried the provisional cast on. Okay, up next we have the Crystalline Sweater, designed by Lirio Knits for Hobie. So in terms of the yarn weight, you can do 2 strands of lace and fingering weight yarn. So I believe it's either 2 strands of lace or 1 strand of fingering weight yarn. But the bust circumference ranges between 34.6 to 62 inches. And in centimeters, that is 88 to 158. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this garment. You will need a US 4, which is a 3.5 millimeter, and a US 3, which is a 3.25 millimeter. So the skills you will need include Italian cast on, 2x2 ribbing, which is knit and purl, German short rows, increases, and stranded color work. So I have never done color work before. If I'm honest with you, it intimidates me a little bit. Let me know if you like color work. I typically wouldn't go for like a color work yoke sweater, but you know, this one, look, it's free. It's a good one to try. So yeah, it's a really good one if you want to kind of dip your toes into stranded color work. And so in terms of the construction, it is worked in the round, top down. So that's good. It features stranded color work, and the yoke has a Nordic star motif. So that's really pretty. And once the yoke is complete, the stitches are separated to work the body and the sleeves. And then the sleeves, they also feature color work right there near the cuffs. So you're going to have color work here, color work up here, and all of the ribbon, including the collar, is worked in a 2x2 rib. So that's really nice. I like the way that sounds. Okay, let's go on to our next one. This is the Lucent Sweater, designed by Alexander Taval of 2 of Wands. So this one calls for super bulky weight yarn. And the bust circumference ranges between 40 to 72 inches. And in centimeters, that is 101.5 to 183. So for this one, you will need a US 13, which is a 9mm knitting needle. And for this one, there's a few things you'll need to know. Knit, purl, rib stitch, moss stitch, cables, reading charts, picking up stitches, which is going to be picked up along the edge, and then there is some seaming that will need to be done as well. And so this sweater is knit bottom up, and it features a scoop neck and long sleeves. And so this is really great. It's really starting to cool down here in Eastern North Carolina, so a nice long sleeve sweater would be really nice. Okay, let's move on to our next one. This is the Soufflé Tee designed by Beta Jerez for Hedgehog Fibers. So this one calls for DK weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 62 inches, and in centimeters, that is 71 to 157. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You will need a US 8, which is a 5mm, and a US 7, which is a 4.5mm. You will need to know just a few skills for this one. You'll need to know how to knit, purl, knit front back, slip with the yarn in front, slip with the yarn in back, make one right, make one left. So there's some, there's some decreases, some increases there. So, I think it's not a problem. And of course, if there are any steps or stitches that you're not familiar with, you can definitely check out YouTube for a tutorial. So this short sleeve tee is knit top down in the round. All right, let's move on to our next one. It is the Crochet-Knit Shrug, designed by Jennifer Kent of Cascade Yarns, or she designed this for Cascade Yarns. Now this one calls for bulky weight yarn, and the circumference for this is calculated by it laid flat. Okay, so if you think about how a shrug typically looks, you lay it flat, and that's how it's measured. So it's between 79.5 to 100 inches, which is 202 to 254 centimeters, and that's laid flat. So the knitting needle size is a US 5, which is a 6.5mm, and you will need to know how to long tail cast on, knit, yarn over, knit 3 together, purl 3 together, knit front and back, slip 2 stitches knitwise, and pass 2 slip stitches over. So that may sound a bit complicated, but it's really not. Trust me, it's really not. And this is knit in one piece, bottom up. And what you do is you fold it in on itself and you sew it together. And that's going to create that circular shape open cardigan pattern. It is also a knitted piece, but it looks crochet. And I think that might be why it's called the Crochet-Knit Shrug, because I did download this pattern and I briefly read through it and I didn't see where there was any crochet. So maybe I missed something, or maybe it's because it just kind of looks crochet. Maybe that's the inspiration that they're going for. I don't know. If you make this pattern, definitely let me know. But since these are free patterns, I do download these and read through them. But when reading through this one, I didn't even see where there was like a crochet hook that was needed. So I'm assuming that it's just going by the fact that it looks like crochet. Okay, let's move on. We have the Herbst Pullover, designed by Pink for Me. So this one calls for Aran weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 38 to 70 inches, and in centimeters, that is 96 to 177. So you will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this pattern. You will need a US 7, which is a 4.5mm, and a US 9, which is a 5.5mm. So you will need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, make one right, make one left, slip, slip, knit, and the Jenny Surprisingly Stretchy Bind Off. I really like doing that bind off. That is a really good bind off if you want something to be super stretchy. Let me know if you have done the Jenny Stretchy Bind Off, or perhaps you have another stretchy bind off that you prefer when it comes to knitting. Definitely let me know. Okay, so this pullover is knit top down with a raglan style, and it features a high collar and long sleeves. So I really do enjoy a raglan. Raglan is probably one of my favorite knitting constructions when it comes to making garments and things like that. So yeah, let me know. Are you a raglan type person? Are you, you know, do you like a continuous yoke? There's so many different constructions out there, but I really do enjoy a raglan. Okay, moving on, we have the Emmaline Cardigan, designed by Allison Green for Barocco. So this one calls for 3 strands of lace or 1 strand of worsted weight yarn. And so if you're someone that's really into holding multiple strands of yarn together, this is a really good pattern for you. Okay, so the bust circumference is 34.5 to 74 inches, and that's 87.5 to 188 centimeters. You will need a US 5, which is a 3.75, and a US 7, which is a 4.5 millimeter. So you will need to know quite a few techniques to make this. You'll need to know how to knit, purl, knit 2 together, lifted left increase and lifted right increase, slip, slip, knit, and wrap and turn short rows. So when it comes to short rows, I prefer a German short row, but this calls for a wrap and turn, so you know you got to do what you got to do, right? All right, so this pattern is worked top down, and it features short rows and a circular yoke shape. So that's really nice. Okay, moving on, we have the Dream Puff Top, and it is designed by Isabel Vassiliadis of Stitch and Scrap. Yeah, me and names. You know, I'm going to leave everything linked below so you'll be able to see the name. But this is made with Aran weight yarn, and the bust circumference ranges between 28 to 62 inches, and that's 71 to 157 centimeters. You will need 2 knitting needle sizes for this one. You'll need a US 10, which is a actually you will need a US 10.5, which is a 6.5 millimeter, and a US 15, which is a 10.0 millimeter. So definitely some on the more on the larger size when it comes to knitting needles. So you will need to know how to knit, purl, long tail cast on, or you can do a German twisted cast on, which is a really good cast on. I like that one when you need something a little bit more stretchy. Also, there's some increases and some decreases. Also, you will need to do some seaming with the mattress stitch and picking up stitches. So quite a few things there. It is knit bottom up, and it features a drop sleeve, a V-neck, and a cinched waistband. So if you're looking for a pattern to keep you snatched in the waist, this is definitely a pattern for you. All right, so let's move on to an accessory. Okay, we have the Timberline Cowl, designed by Gianna Mueller for Pearl Soho. This calls for DK weight yarn, and it comes in 2 sizes. So the smaller size is for the cowl to be wrapped around once. The larger size is if you want your cowl to be wrapped around twice. So whatever you prefer, whether you want a smaller cowl or a longer cowl that you can wrap up, it's up to you, but you do have those size choices. You will need a US 5, which is a 3.75 millimeter. And you don't have to know a lot of skills in order to be able to make this cowl. You simply need to know how to knit, purl, and long tail cast on. That is it. So really simple. And this cowl is knit from the bottom up in the round in one piece. So we really like that. let's talk about a pattern for the home. Okay, so we have the My Simple Blanket designed by Laura Simonson for Knit Picks. So this one calls for worsted weight yarn. And it is available in 2 sizes. So you have a stroller size and you have a lap size. You will need a US 8, which is a 5mm knitting needle. You will also need to know how to do a double chain cast on, knit purl, slip one with yarn in front, slip one with yarn in back. I've never even heard of a double chain cast on. Let me know if you have or if you've ever used it. But you know, that's the great thing about knitting, and even like, you know, like when you're crocheting and knitting and doing all these patterns, it's so fun when you learn a new stitch or a new skill. It just makes it more interesting and keeps it more interesting. So I like that. And this blanket is knit from the bottom to the top. It features a garter stitch border along the bottom, the top, and both sides, as well as between each section. So there's a garter strip between each section of the blanket. And the blanket features 6 different sections with 2 alternating patterns. And according to the pattern, the rows are really easy to memorize. So I like that. And, you know, it kind of helps you just to be able to work, and maybe you can watch TV or do something like that, because the alternating patterns are really easy to memorize. Okay, so what are some new patterns that you found in October? Share with the class. Let all of us know. Let me know if you've made any of these or if you would like to make any of these. And also, as you know, I knit and I crochet, so definitely go and check out my crochet video for the October roundup. I did about 12 or 13 patterns that came out, new crochet patterns that came out during the month of October. So definitely check that out. In fact, I will leave you with a preview of that video. When it comes to the process of crocheting, seaming the project together is some people's least favorite part. So if any of these skills seem a little daunting to you, there are a ton of YouTube tutorials. All you got to do is look up the stitch and someone will be willing to teach you, okay? I am so excited to make a hooded scarf. I think it would be so wonderful. It'll keep my head warm, my neck warm, my chest warm, and I just think the idea of a hooded scarf is so fun. Let me know what you worked on while watching, or did you just chill? And I love reading you all's comments, so definitely leave me a comment. Feel free to click that bell notification so you know when my new videos pop up. And thank you so much for also clicking that like button and that subscribe button. It means so much to me. I am trying to reach 12,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Right now we're at 11,500. So I know that's a big ask, but I would really appreciate your support in that. And if you're already subscribed, thank you. I love having you here. Okay, I do believe that is all. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time,